Joined on the live line now by our Dave Maetzold, Fox Sports Ohio hockey analyst as well for the Blue Jackets, our sideline reporter, I should say. Before I get to the Buckeye stuff, Dave, and we can relish in another Ohio State win over Michigan, the injury to Zach Werenski is going to be out about 4 weeks. How significant is that going to be to the Jackets going forward, starting with tomorrow against Arizona?
Well, given what he was doing, not just in defending, but offensively, his game had really come around. It's a big blow because he's one of the quarterbacks on that power play, and the power play had just been beginning to come around, and that was a super important part of this team being successful. And so to see him go down the way he did was first of all, very, very tough to watch, and it will really put a ding in what the Jackets are trying to get done in terms of trying to produce more goals, which was an issue in New York the other night and has been an issue really all through the first 26 games of the year. So that's a big loss.
Yeah, Dave, I didn't see the Islanders game because I was coming back driving with Stan from Michigan, but a 2-0 shutout, and I looked on paper statistically, it looked like they were getting scoring chances again, but unable to crack the scoring column is, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, is it just up to the guys when they get those chances to bury it? Is it lack of talent? Is that the number one issue with this team, is just to find some way, somehow they got to start finishing?
It really is the number one goal, and you can hear the exasperation in John Tortorella's voice. You know, I asked him after the game, and he just said, look, we played well, couldn't score. Just that simple and very frustrated with it. But you go back to the Philadelphia game last week, and there were some opportunities. Sonny Milano had a grade A chance and just couldn't finish. Gus Nyquist, who had a hat trick in the previous home game, then goes to New York and has a grade A chance and can't finish there. So it's a matter of those last few seconds when the opportunities are created and finishing the job. I don't know what that issue is, but that's where it is. That's where the breakdown occurs.
Well, the Jackets couldn't score, but boy, oh boy, could the Buckeyes. Putting up 56 points in the Big House, the most Ohio State has scored on the road at Michigan. The last 2 years, Dave, in this series, Ohio State scored 118 points. They've had the two highest scoring games against Michigan in consecutive years. This Ryan Day guy, who last year was coordinating the offense and now is the head coach, seems to have Don Brown, the Michigan defensive coordinator's number, I would say.
And so many moments, be it big third down conversions or, you know, Fields coming off the turf with the knee brace on and firing the dart from 30 yards away. I mean, just so many moments of precision and ultra-high talent executing at an ultra-high level. We've seen it all season long, but when it happens in a big house like that, wow, it's just so impressive, isn't it? It's like,
yep.
This may be a team of destiny. We may have been watching all season long, really the best Buckeye team I've seen since I've been here, and maybe the best Buckeye team ever. They're really good.
Fields had 4 touchdown passes, threw for 302 yards, and J.K. Dobbins 4 touchdown runs and 211 yards. Interestingly, the other number 2, Chase Young, did not have a tackle. He had 2 quarterback hits. That was it. But you could see his influence on the game if you watched it, how it affected their offense. The Stars came to play in this game. Ryan Day said all 3 of them deserve to be in New York as Heisman finalists. I doubt, Dave, that's going to happen. Do you have the other 2 that you think are probably more likely to make it as finalists than the others?
Well, the previous play that I mentioned from Fields, I thought was his Heisman moment. But if you take the body of work and you look at what Dobbins does when somebody tries to untie his shoe early in the game, that obviously angered him.
Never seen that before.
Right, and B, when he plays the whole game, look at how dominant he can be. I mean, imagine if we would have seen him play 4 quarters all season long. Where would his numbers be? They'd be through the roof. We saw what he could do when in the game for the entire game, how dominating he can be. His breakaway ability is unreal. His ability to break tackles with one of the best defenses in the country is unreal. I think that J.K. may have moved ahead of Fields, to be honest with you, when you consider all of those factors. But I think it's going to be those 2 guys in New York, and, it's all up to the voters at that point, see who they like best.
Okay, got to ask you, because we saw Ohio State have to play a top 10 team in Penn State last week, the rivalry game on the road at Michigan this week. It sounds like a funny thing to ask, Dave, because this week it's a conference championship game. They're 12-0, but they haven't won the conference yet. They have to beat Wisconsin again to do it. Is there any part of you that worries with this team about, for lack of a better way to put it, a letdown playing in a conference title game against Wisconsin again?
Yeah, and here's why: because they've already played and beaten them, and they've come off a huge win again over the rivalry, playing almost a perfect game. Can they duplicate that again? Is that possible?
Yeah,
that's my only concern. But we ask that question almost every week, right? Is there a concern somewhere? And every week, the answer that is always given to us by the Buckeyes is nope. Shouldn't have been worried about that.
Yep.
I mean, one game you saw the ball go on the ground 3 times and it was costly, and they still won that game by a comfortable margin. That was one game against a pretty good opponent, and it wasn't like a nail biter at the end.
Yep.
So no, I don't have big concerns at all.
Okay, are you in with Eric tonight for a rewind?
Yeah, that'll be a fun one, right? As we look back on the big day in the big house and look ahead to what's going to happen in Indy. Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right, Dave Maetzold will be with Eric Reitzer, 7 o'clock tonight. Dave, thanks for joining us.